Hey friends, did you know that according to most studies, security breaches often occur due to a lack of security hygiene? Yuri is here to show me how to use Security Center to monitor my system, detect threats on Azure VMs, app services, and all kinds of Azure resources. I'm going to learn all about that and my secure score today on Azure Friday. Hey friends, I'm Scott Hanselman and it's Azure Friday. I'm here with Yuri Diogenes and we're going to talk about some interesting things happening in the Azure Security Center space. But first, sir, may I just compliment you on your bookshelf? How many of those books have you written?
22 so far.
Seriously.
Yes.
And there's a book that's prominently placed and facing the audience. Did you write that book?
Yes, that's the second edition of the Azure Security Center book from Microsoft Press.
The Azure Security Center book from Microsoft Press. You heard it here first. Fantastic. That's another call to action for our friends who are watching Azure Friday to go and check that out. So I've had a couple folks come on before to talk about Azure Security Center. And the first time I heard about it, I had no idea that this existed, but there's so much good information in there.
Yeah, the Azure Security Center is available for every single subscription. And there are a lot of capabilities that are part of what we call the free tier. So you can take advantage of right away. You just need to activate and then start following the secure best practice to secure the different workloads. I mean, everyone should be using the free tier. There is no reason to not be using it, right? Because you get a lot of insights about all the workloads that you have in your Azure subscription.
That's a great point. There's so much stuff that's available for free. There is no reason for you to not be doing this right now. And I understand that according to many studies, breaches and security issues usually happen due to what they call a lack of hygiene. What is hygiene in the context of the cloud security space?
So secure hygiene is basically, let's step back a little bit and talk about this whole cloud migration, right? Lots of customers that are migrating to the cloud, they are using a lot of legacy security controls to try to protect those cloud workloads. And the reality is that the cloud threats are not exactly the same as the on-prem threats.
True.
So you need some sort of tooling capability that was built in the cloud to be able to identify potential vulnerabilities on your workloads and suggest you how to harden, how to remediate those vulnerabilities. And that's exactly what Security Center does this secure hygiene, scanning your subscription, looking for secure best practice to apply to those workloads.
Now, is that what they call cloud security posture management, CSPM? Is that process?
That's correct. CSPM is a terminology that comes from Gartner, right? Gartner has this terminology about what are the key attributes that a CSPM platform should have. And Security Center fits into that CSPM scenario because we have capabilities that will allow you to improve your secure posture for your cloud workloads.
Okay. So you've got that aspect of things. You've also got threat detection, being able to proactively tell you that things are happening. You've got cloud workload protection and posture management. So when it happens, you catch it. And then before it happens, you can catch it.
Yeah, I always say that the CSPM platform is more the proactive work. These are things that you do in order to enhance your security posture and reduce the likelihood that you're going to get compromised, right? And then once you've done all this homework of enhancing your security posture, what you need to do now is be sure that you are monitoring the environment for threats. In other words, if someone is trying to attack your environment, you want to know if there is someone trying to do, for example, our RDP brute force attack, because it's very common to provision VMs in Azure and leave the RDP port open, right? And the RDP brute force is one of the main attacks that is happening. So if you do not have tools such as Azure Security Center monitoring, you really do not know if someone is trying to RDP brute force your system.
Now, you mentioned at the beginning that there's really no reason that people should not be using Security Center because there's a free tier. Maybe you can show in a demo what I would see if I go into that secure Security Center, and what can it tell me about my cloud security posture?
Sure, I can show you right now.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. So as soon as you open up Security Center dashboard, you have this very comprehensive dashboard with the policy and compliance, which shows you the security score. And the security score is something extremely important because it helps you to have the visibility of how you are from the secure posture management perspective at that point, right? You always want to reach 100%, which means you address all the security recommendations, you enhance your secure posture, and you remediate all recommendations that Security Center is providing. So the recommendations are located here. When you click on this, you have a list of security controls where each security control has a list of recommendations. As you start addressing each one of those recommendations and you finish the entire security control, you're going to increase your security score in this amount of points, right? So that's how you actually drive this number to 100%, by using the top-down approach of remediating the recommendations based on the order that we are surfacing here, okay? And this order may vary according to the subscription, because not every single subscription has the same amount of resources and the same amount of workloads. So this list that you see on my screen, the order may vary from what you are seeing on your screen at that point. But we always organize the controls based on the impact on the security score. So just go on each one and remediate. And the good thing that we also do as part of this is some of those recommendations, we have what we call the quick fix, which allows you to click on the recommendation, and assuming that you have privilege on the workload, you can just select the workload and click on remediate. So what you're doing at that point is you are implementing those steps that are here. So you are automating the remediation of this workload. Okay, so very powerful capability that allows you to not only visualize, but remediate from the same dashboard.
Interesting. I know those remediations, you can do them manually if you feel paranoid or you need extra control, or you can use the quick fix, which will be like a run book of some kind that'll do that for you.
Yeah, and if in what we do to be extremely transparent because of this paranoia, and some people really need to know. So you remediate, what are you doing? Well, we provide you the code here. So if you click on view remediate logic, we actually provide here exactly what we're doing. So in order for you to say, I really need to know what are you changing in my environment. So we are very transparent on that, and we show here.
That's a really amazing feature. That's huge, because sometimes I think that we always are afraid in the cloud that it's going to be push a button and then magic happens and I'll never know what really is going on. You actually give them the code. You show them the ARM template that's going to be run against their resources. Exactly.
Yeah. We are extremely transparent at that point. And this also helps them. If they don't want to use the quick fix, they can just get that code and deploy via ARM template, right? That's another alternative.
That's fantastic. And I see also the regulatory and compliance as well. That's a really interesting and powerful control.
Right. What we do here, we have a specific dashboard just for the regulatory and compliance, and we map with a lot of industry standards. And this helps organization that needs to be, for example, PCI compliant, to identify what are the workloads that needs remediation. Notice that some of those items, they are gray out, which means that Security Center does not have an assessment for that control. For example, 1.1, we don't have an assessment for that. That's why it's gray out. But 1.2, we do have. And then when you start drill down, it shows you the items that you can that you need to take care in order to be compliant with this item 1.2.1. Okay. So that's another way to visualize, another way to continuously improving your security posture via the regulatory compliance.
Okay. So this really gives me a sense of my cloud security posture, right? That's your posture management. Let's assume that I do have a poor score, because your example here has not a great score at 45%. Let's move to the threat detection side and see if someone got in, what kind of alerts could we potentially hear about?
Now, here is something that I want to clarify.
Please.
While the CSPM recommendations are part of the free tier, the threat detection are part of the standard tier. So
interesting.
In order you have threat detection, you have to upgrade. So you go here on the prices and settings, you select your subscription, and then you upgrade to standard.
There's the difference between free and standard. That makes a lot of sense.
Right. So you upgrade from free to standard. And the good thing is that we are extremely granular, which means that we provide threat detection for different PaaS services. So if you have app services, you can enable threat detection for the app service. For SQL database, Azure SQL database, we have that as well. So you can enable specifically for the workloads that you have on that subscription. For example, if I don't have Kubernetes here, I can disable that. If I don't have Key Vault, I can disable that, right? So I can be extremely granular on that matter. Those things are separate threat detection. Because remember what I was talking previously about using legacy controls? You cannot really use threat intelligence and security controls that were created for a on-premise environment into the cloud, because the analytics are different, right? So if I want to monitor potential attacks against my Key Vault, I need to be I need to have analytics for Key Vault. And we do have. That's why we offer the threat detection for Key Vault, right?
That's great. I like that, how transparent it is. And the granularity that makes it very clear. But as you point out here, everyone on the free tier gets to see that secure score, which will help them make an educated decision.
Yeah, because the assumption is that even if you do not want or you don't have budget to utilize the threat detection capability on the standard tier, you want to make sure that at least you've been diligent to address all your secure recommendations. And that's what we are pushing a lot. Make sure to use the secure score to continue to drive your enhancement for the secure posture.
I dig it. Okay, so then if you've upgraded to the above the free tier, what does that look like in threat detection?
So the threat detection is this tile here. If you do not have standard tier, this will be gray out, right? Okay. So in my case, I have standard tier. When I click here, I have the secure alerts dashboard. And the secure alert dashboard is where I see attempts to compromise my system, basically. Someone just did a SQL injection attack. So when I click on the SQL injection here, it opened up the resource that was attacked. When I click on the resource, it gives me the details about the attack. It tells me what the SQL injection was, okay? It tells me the server, the database, the IP address. It even tells me the vulnerable statement here with details explanation, okay?
Wow. Are every single alert an actionable thing that I should freak out about and panic about, or some of them are just people poking around? Are these attacks that that are really bad, or are some of these things that have been detected and then aren't something I need to take action on?
Notice that each alert has a severity. So if you receive a SQL injection with a high severity alert, you better take a look what it is. So look into the severity is how you're going to prioritize if this is something that you should really take care of not. If it is, for example, a medium or a low, then you might want to review, in triage first, but you definitely need to take care of everything that is high severity. Yeah.
And were there new things that were announced at Build around the threat detection feature?
Right. What we announced at Build is something called the suppression capability, because one thing that our customers told us is that nowadays it's very common that organizations, they have their own red team doing pen tests against servers in the cloud. So they said, look, I have a team that is doing pen tests against my servers in Azure, and Security Center is freaking out. It's sending a lot of alerts, which is expected because those are legitimate attacks. Security Center does not know that is a pen test. So we are going to raise those alerts. And he said, but this is coming from machines that we know are doing the pen test. So I would like to suppress those alerts. There is any way for me to suppress alerts, to flag that as a false positive, right, for my environment? And the answer is yes. You can select, for example, this one, suspicious SVC host process execution. I can click on these three dots and click on create suppression rule. And from here, I can customize my suppression rule. I can say this is the alert. I can customize the entities. I can say if the host DNS domain is equals to, and then I type, I want you to suppress this rule, right? And I can select a reason here of why I'm suppressing this.
I see. And I could even go and put an expiration and say the red team is here for the next week.
Right, exactly. Because sometimes you want to suppress just for a month or 2 weeks, because it's a temporary condition. So you can do that.
That's pretty slick.
Now, the good thing is the people ask, well, what happened with those alerts? I'm not going to be able to see anymore because I suppressed. Do they go to a special place? Well, what we are changing behind the scenes actually is just the state of the alert. So if you look at this column called state, those alerts are active. So if I click on filter here, you see that there is other one that the state is dismissed.
Oh.
So if I look to alerts that are dismissed, it's going to list only the alerts that I dismissed. So everything that was dismissed by those rules will show up here into the dashboard when I select this filter.
Right. If I might make a mistake and suppress something important, I don't want to feel like I've thrown it in the trash. It's not even in the trash or a recycle bin. It's just in a different state that is easily found with just one click.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. So I feel like even as a small little business, I should go right away and I should take a look at my secure score.
Absolutely. As I said, take advantage of the Security Center standard tier. I mean, the free tier, because you have all the secure posture capabilities there. You have the capabilities to visualize what are the areas that you can improve in your Azure deployment and remediate those recommendations. Make sure to use your secure score as your KPI, because you can show management progress. You can say, look, when I started this journey, we were in 40%. Now we are 80%. So that means that we are being diligent to improve our secure posture. It's a great way to show the commitment to continuous improvement.
That is fantastic. So folks can get involved right now. You check out the free tier that gives you all the security recommendations. And then you can even try standard for 30 days and give that a try as well.
Right. So that's a great thing about here is that you can do a proof of concept project. And this is what I always tell to customers. Go ahead and enable standard tier. Is not going to be charged for the first 30 days on your subscription. So I wrote an article. I can share this on the link for the show, but I wrote an article for you to do a POC. I specify all the scenarios that you should validate. We have playbooks for you to simulate alerts and how to validate different scenarios. Validate for 20 days and then have a meeting and discuss, is it worth to upgrade to keep it rolling, or should I downgrade, go back to free tier, right? At least you have a chance to validate those scenarios and see if they are important for you, if they address your needs.
Fantastic. We're going to include all the things that we talked about in the show notes, so check those out below. I am learning all about cloud security posture management and workload protection with Azure Security Center today on Azure Friday. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Azure Friday. Now I need you to like it, comment on it, tell your friends, retweet it. Watch more Azure Friday.